anything like me, you have at least one PC laying around that hasn't been turned on in a while, or you have an old PC that's not really doing anything. In my case, I have about 10, but I recently did a network upgrade for one of my friends, and I noticed he had a computer sitting there not doing anything, basically collecting dust. So I told him I'd take it and turn it into maybe a NAS or some kind of little hypervisor system that he can play with. So that's what we're gonna do today. And he did warn me, that it might be a little dirty and that there is some cash inside. Let's see what we're working with here. Oh, money. Already making a profit. So he did say his kid, when he was real little, shoved coins into the SD card reader slot thingy. So maybe we can get those out. But let's open it up. And if I look through here, oh God. Okay, this might be dirty. Oh dear. Ooh. Ew. Okay, this is dirty. Okay, we're gonna need to clean this out. So if you look in here, you can see there's dust all over the power cables, caked onto the CPU heatsink, on the exhaust fan and the power supply fan. Oh God, okay. I don't know what CPU is even in here. I don't know what specs it has, but I'm hoping it's decent enough to work with. But first thing, we gotta clean this out, and I'm not doing that in here. Be right back. Ooh, okay. So clearly, we're going to want to do this outside. And I have this little doohickey. It's basically a canned air sprayer to clean your electronics, but this is that like times 1,000. So it's just going to blow a crap ton of air and hopefully get all of this dust out. So let's give it a shot. Oh dear. That's a lot of dust. Oh my God. I can see why we didn't do that inside. Whew, much better. I think work here is done. There's some cash money in here. We'll worry about that later. Okay, back inside. All right, we are back. Whew. And we are a lot cleaner and a lot quieter than we were before. So I just went crazy on the blower and got most of the dust out. I'm gonna go through with like a paper towel or something just to get the small spots that are left. But in good news, I did get a profit here. This is $3.09, which is awesome because that is actually $3.09 more than the total I've ever made off of this YouTube channel. So it's pretty awesome. Okay, so let's get something installed on here so it's actually useful and not just a pile of dusty metal. I don't have a piggy bank. Okay. All right, so what we're actually going to install on here is TrueNAS Scale. And the reason I'm going with that is because the main purpose of this is going to be a NAS. I know there's really not a lot of storage on here, but you got to start somewhere, and this was just sitting there doing nothing. The second reason is because while I could install just like a dedicated hypervisor like Proxmox and go with TrueNAS as a virtual machine on there, I'm kind of using this opportunity to try out TrueNAS Scale and give it a fair shot, because with TrueNAS Scale you do get all of the awesome NAS features of TrueNAS Core, but with the new kind of upgraded hypervisor support that they're offering with this Linux distribution. So let's try it out. There she goes. Okay, so we're in the BIOS and you can see we are running an Intel i5-4590, which is a 4-core, 4-thread processor. So not great for a home server, but perfectly fine for a NAS and to run a VM or two. And we get 16 gigabytes of DDR3, which again, not bad. So we're gonna wanna go over to boot and go down to, let's see, UEFI 10. Okay, we can just pick which one we want to boot from. Let's go here. Okay, looks like it's doing something. All right, we are in. Okay, so once you see this screen, you are probably going to want to do this very important step. Now, TrueNAS Scale, one big gripe I have with it is that unlike Proxmox, where you can fully utilize the boot disk that you install your OS to, TrueNAS Scale doesn't allow that natively. Now this is beta, so I anticipate they will allow it once it goes to full production. But for right now, if you install TrueNAS Scale on a 1 terabyte drive, that 1 terabyte drive is not going to be recognized by TrueNAS, so it's going to be a full waste. So we're going to do something to alleviate this. Now, I'm following a guide that I found on Reddit. I did not create this. I did do some minor tweaks, but the people that find these things are much smarter than me, so I am not taking credit for this. So the first thing you're going to do is go down and go into the shell. Okay, so what we're going to have to do here is actually modify the TrueNAS install script to say basically, hey, take that boot drive, instead of just not recognizing any of it, just allocate a piece of it for the install, and then we can do whatever we want later with the rest. So the first thing you're going to do is confirm the location of your TrueNAS install script. So you're going to want to type in find/name TrueNAS install. So you're going to see 3 things, and the last one is going to be your actual location. That is /user/sbin TrueNAS install. So we're going to open that up, and we have to use Vim or VI. For this, I'll walk you through it. So you're going to type in VI /user/sbin or whatever you're seeing down there, TrueNAS install, and we get this. Now you're going to want to have to scroll all the way down to line 329. And that's going to be where it says create partitions. So let's go down until you see create partitions. Okay, there's our function, create partitions. Now, once you're in there, you're going to want to go down to where it says create boot pool. And it should be a couple of lines down. This is where we want to be. Create boot pool, and it's just one little if statement. This is where we're going to work our magic. Now, what we're essentially doing here is telling it how big of a drive we actually want to use. Now, in my case, now I believe this computer right here has a 128 gigabyte SSD, and that's where we're going to be installing TrueNAS to. So we don't want to use all 128 gigabytes. I'm only going to allocate 32 gigabytes for the TrueNAS install, which gives us 80-ish left to mess around with. So the way to do that in here is you're going to want to go over to this last 0 in this line, press X to delete, and then you're going to press I to go into edit mode. You're not going to see anything happen, but you're now in edit mode. And then you type in the size that you want. So in my case, it's 32, so you type in plus 32 GB. Okay, that's what it should look like. Then you're going to want to press escape. Then you're going to type :WQ, enter, and you have saved the new script, and you are pretty much ready to go. It's very easy. Now we're going to go back to our TrueNAS install, which is /user/sbin/TrueNAS install. It's going to bring us back to the page, and you can't see it because scaling on this card sucks. And now we can perform the actual install. Now you'll see all your drives here. You won't see any partitions or anything, but in our case, we have a 1 terabyte drive and a 128 or 119 gigabyte SSD. That's what we're going to want to install to. Press spacebar on that, enter for OK. I previously tested this already, so it's asking me if I want to upgrade or do a fresh install. Yours won't ask that. We're going to want to do a fresh install. We're going to format the boot drive, blah, blah, blah. Yep, that's fine. Password, mine's password, come hack me. Okay. And now it's going to create. Okay, so it's going to ask if you want to create a 16 gigabyte swap partition on the boot drive. So what a swap partition is essentially overflow of RAM. So if you need more RAM, it's going to use your boot drive as 16 more gigabytes of RAM. We could do it. I'm not going to do it here. It could be beneficial, but we really don't have that much space on our boot drive, so I'm not going to create a swap partition. That might be everything. Let's see. All right. So TrueNAS is installing, and I will be back when we have something cool to look at. Okay, so you can see here that just after a simple reboot, TrueNAS is up and running. Now everything is going to be accessed through a GUI on your main machine. So here you can see it saying the web user interface is located at 10.0.0.196. Now this was set to DHCP. You can give it a static IP later if you want, but this is probably just going to go back to my buddy's house. So I don't want to assign anything static right now because he has a completely different subnet. So let's switch to my desktop. Okay, here's my desktop. Now remember, it said go to 10.0.0.196. When we go there, boom, there's our web GUI. Our username by default is root, and then the password we set before, which I made password. So once we're in here, you're going to get your nice little TrueNAS dashboard that if you've used TrueNAS Core, it's going to look very similar. You can monitor your CPU, memory, any storage. Now we don't have any yet, but we can change that. Your network, obviously you're going to want to plug in network. And then over here is all your options. Okay, first step is to get the rest of that SSD that we're using and turn it into its own little ZFS pool. So I'm gonna have my notes over here. Makes it a lot easier to walk through this. So the first thing you want to do is go into the shell, or you can SSH into the server. I find it's easy just to go into the shell. So go down to system settings and shell. That's going to bring you into the CLI for your server. And we're going to want to now list our disks. You can do that with fdisk/list or L. And you can see we have 3 different devices here. So you might have 3, you might have 4, depending on if you created a swap partition. We didn't, so we only have 3, which means the next line we are going to want to type is sgdisk/n4. It could be N5 if you created a swap disk. I did not. N4:0:0:bf01/dev/SDB. Now you might be SDA, SDB, SDC, SDD. That's going to be determined by this device right here. So mine is SDB 1, 2, and 3, so I'm going to use SDB. Okay, once I have that created, the operation completed successfully. It's saying run part probe. So we're going to do that next. Just type in part probe. All right, so now we're going to run an fdisk again, except now we're going to do LX and then dev/SDB. And you can see all of our partitions. Now, here is the one we want. This is our 4th one. Remember, we had 1, 2, and 3. We just added the 4th. Yours might be the 5th. It might be the 6th. Just the one you created in the step before. Make sure that's what you're using in this next step. So note your device name. Mine is /dev/SDB4. So what we're going to do is create a ZFS pool. We're going to do zpool create -f and then give your pool a name. Mine is going to be called SSD storage. And then your device name, and ours was /dev/SDB4. Our pool is created. Now we need to export that pool. So zpool export, and then the name that you gave the pool. Okay, so now it's exported. So we can go back to our GUI. Okay, so back on the main dashboard, you're going to want to go over to storage, click on import, and it's going to give you a drop down. And if you did everything correctly, you can see that we have our SSD storage pool already there. And you can see it HDD storage because I've run through this before to test it. And it's asking me if I want to re-import that. Okay, so import, click next. Sure, this looks fine. Import. Okay, and now you can see our ZFS pool on our SSD boot drive with 83 gigabytes of storage. So if we hadn't run those steps before, we would not have access to the rest of that SSD. But since we did, 32 gigabytes of that was allocated to boot from, and now we have another 83 gigabytes to work with and install VMs on and basically do whatever we want. And if you want to utilize another hard drive, just simply go back to storage, or we're already in storage, create pool. Now you're going to have to select your disk, and you can see here available disks, the hard drive that we haven't used yet. Click on that, send it over to data vdevs, and under here you're going to select the type of pool you're going to want to do. Now We have no choice because we only have one drive, so it's essentially a stripe. But if you have more drives, I would consider doing a mirror or a RAID Z1 or RAID Z2 configuration. But we have to do stripe. It's one drive. This is what it came with. I wouldn't use one drive in a real home server, a real NAS, but this is just for messing around with. So it's going to make you acknowledge, yes, I'm a total jabroni and I only have one drive. Confirm. Yep. Oh, we didn't give it a name. HDD storage create. Yes. And just like that, we have 2 ZFS pools created. And if we go to the dashboard, you'll see them listed here. We've obviously used 0 space on both of them because we haven't done anything. I assume you're going to want to actually do stuff with the drives. And in my case, I'm pretty partial to SMB shares just because a lot of my stuff is on Windows, and SMB is cool because it works between Windows, Mac, and Linux. You might get better performance on other things like iSCSI, but it's not worth it. I like the compatibility. So what we're going to do is add an SMB share. So to do that, actually first, let's create a new user. So go into credentials, local users, click add. So we don't have any actual users yet. So all I'm going to do is create one just for connecting remotely to this NAS. So full name is just going to be called service. Username is just service. Password is password. I'm going to leave all of this default. Make sure Samba authentication is selected down here. That'll make sure we can use SMB shares correctly. Click save. And now we have that user. Now let's go back to shares, Windows SMB or Samba. Select the path. So let's create one on our 1 terabyte drive. So let's go into HDD storage and we'll do a folder called Windows Backups, because I know one of the use cases for this is that he wants to use this as a centralized location to back up all his Windows computers in his house. So we'll put that on the 1 terabyte drive. Obviously, later on, he can upgrade to more storage. Purpose, default shared parameters is fine. Save, enable service. So this is going to start up. So now click on Windows SMB shares, go over to these little 3 dots, click on Edit File System ACL, go down to create a custom ACL, continue. One thing that I was having issues with on TrueNAS Scale is this ACL setting. Now, this works perfectly on TrueNAS Core, so I don't doubt that they'll fix this when TrueNAS Scale is fully released and out of beta. But for now, you kind of have to finagle it a little bit. So one thing you have to do, and I've read a couple of forums, and this has worked for me, you're going to want to go to add item, and that's going to be a mask, and give that read, write, execute. For some reason, you have to have a mask control list in here before you give a user access. I don't know why. I don't know if it's a bug. I don't know if it's something to do with the built-in ACL editor here. That's kind of what you have to do. And then we are going to add another item. Now this is going to be the actual user permission. So we're going to go down to user. And remember, we created that service user before, so we can scroll all the way to the bottom and you'll see our service user. Click that. We want to give them read, write, and execute access. Save access control list, and we are good. Now, if we did this correctly, we can go into Windows, type in our IP. Oh, look, I've already done this before. So it's our IP address and the name of the share that we created. It's going to ask us for our credentials. Now it's a service user and our password. Sure, remember them. Up, cannot access. What did we do wrong? Let's check it out. Okay, so I found the issue. When I was creating this share right here, I specified the path as Windows Backups, but the name was left defaulted to HDD storage. So I had to change that to Windows Backups. And that is what you're going to list right here. So all good now. So now you can see we are connected, and I can add a folder. I can add a file. So we have read access, we have write access. I can delete this folder. So cool. We are connected to our TrueNAS system over our network. Now, if you want to use this for connecting and backing up your Windows PCs like my friend's going to do, that's pretty easy to do. You can just go and type in backup, go to backup settings, So you do have to add it as an actual drive. So we're going to have to map it. It's not hard. Go into this PC, go to map network drive, and it's going to be the same thing that we did before just to test it. Windows backups, connect using different credentials, password. Okay, no, we're good. All right, so we're mapped. All right, we can go back to add a drive. Searching, I don't know why it takes so long, but okay, there we are. Once we click that, it's going to do its thing. Okay, so when we go into more options, our overview, we have total space 900 gigabytes, not backed up yet, and you can set all your backup settings as you please. And now you're backing up your PC to your TrueNAS Scale server over LAN. So cool. But with TrueNAS Scale, we also have the option to do some virtualization. Now, this is built on top of Linux, so with the upgraded virtualization experience that you get, you also get apps, and it's going to ask you for a pool for your apps. We're going to install our apps to, sure, HDD storage. And now with these apps, you don't have to deal with jails anymore. Now with jails, it's not like they were bad or anything, but there was much less development going on with jails than there are with Docker containers on Linux. So you're going to get way more options with these packaged applications than you did with the jails on TrueNAS Core. Now, this is all they have listed right now as their official kind of repository, but I know you can go in and access third-party libraries and just download a crap ton of different applications that are out there, but I'm not going to cover that right now. This video I feel like is already long enough. But again, if you want to create virtual machines, it's pretty straightforward. I would say it's definitely not on the level of something like Proxmox, but it works. I tested this before. It's super easy. That's it for TrueNAS. Now, I'm sorry if this wasn't a super in-depth, walkthrough of TrueNAS Scale. I mainly just wanted to get it set up and working and test that the basic things like setting up ZFS pools, sharing them, being able to use my boot drive, and setting up virtual machines actually worked, and it does. So if you're interested in a more in-depth walkthrough or kind of review on TrueNAS Scale, let me know down in the comments. But that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, drop a like. If you want to see more content like this, make sure to subscribe. But that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.